President Joe Biden has invoked his wartime powers, but it's not to defend our country. It's not to defend our troops. It's to target our home appliances as he pushes for his green agenda. Now you gotta think, where the heck does this guy find the time to think about meddling with our appliances when he's got a couple of wars to arm and fund? Sorry, made a mistake there. It's us that's arming and funding these wars with our taxpayer money. But what's the latest with their fight with climate change?
Anyone who willfully denies the impact of climate change is condemning the American people to a very dangerous future. The impacts we're seeing are only going to get worse, more frequent, more ferocious, and more costly. Last year alone, natural disasters in America caused $178 billion in damages. They hit everyone, no matter what their circumstances, but they hit the most vulnerable the hardest: seniors, people with disabilities, people experiencing homelessness who have nowhere to turn, Black, brown, and tribal communities, territories that are most exposed and have the fewest resources. But folks, none of this is inevitable. None of it's inevitable. From day one, my administration has taken unprecedented climate action. We're working with everyone from mayors to county officials to entrepreneurs to academics, business leaders, labor leaders, tribal leaders. We're focused in all parts of America: cities, suburbs, small towns, and rural communities and tribal nations.
He's saying that this is costing us a lot of money in damages, but then turns around and pushes to boost heat pump production by $169 million in federal funds, all because they want gas appliances out of the picture. Here's a neat question. Do you think that there will come a time where all of us will prefer to use anything other than gas-powered appliances? Comment a quick yes or no down below on that one. And while you guys are deciding that answer, make sure to hit the like button. It only takes a second, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. So getting back on topic, it's still worrying to this day to think that electric appliances will replace everything that we own. I mean, think about it for a second. Our power grids are they're old. Like, they're kind of outdated, and I think that a lot of them might even be older than the commander-in-chief himself.
The US clean energy business is booming. Soaring electric car sales and fast growth in wind and solar power are raising hopes for the fight against climate change. But all this progress could be derailed. The culprit? America's decaying electric infrastructure. Industry experts say the power grid needs a massive overhaul, something that could cost more than $2 trillion. The current national power grid is decaying with age and underinvestment, a condition highlighted by catastrophic failures during increasingly frequent and severe weather events. Remember when the Texas grid nearly collapsed during a cold snap in February 2021? It left millions of Texans without electricity, water, and heat for days.
The grid is not engineered to withstand these extreme weather events.
Reuters' Tim McLaughlin examined federal data that showed power outages over the last 6 years more than doubled compared to the previous 6 years.
So the US grid is actually 4 separate grids, and they sprawl out across the United States, but the connections among them are extremely limited. So this prevents different regions from sharing power, especially during extreme weather events, which obviously are becoming more frequent with climate change. A lot of the grid that is in place today was built 30, 40, 50, even 100 years ago. Some of this equipment is still being used.
I guess this is why they're trying to ease our minds by investing billions of dollars to hopefully, and I'm just trying to be optimistic here, to hopefully get these power grids future-proofed.
The Biden administration announced they'll invest $3.5 billion for 58 projects across 44 states to strengthen electric grid resilience and reliability across the country. For more, we're now joined by the Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm. Mr. Secretary, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be on.
You're down in Georgia today. Explain the significance of that and these investments that you're making. Is this a national security concern, or is this because the load on the grid is changing so much amid the transition to renewables?
Well, it's all of the above, really. We want to make sure. I mean, the grid, so much of it was built in the last century or, long ago, I'll just say that, and it is not reliable in many cases. So there's a question of reliability of old transmission and distribution lines, of old poles, of old substations. Then there's also a question of how the grid is going to withstand extreme weather events, which are increasing. So we want to make sure that it is not vulnerable to that. How do we make sure the grid is not vulnerable to wildfires? So all of that has to happen. And then how do we make sure the grid is big enough to be able to encompass all of the energy that's being added as we electrify our transportation system, for example?
Right.
So all of that, it's got to be bigger, it's got to be stronger, it's got to be smarter.
Bigger and smarter, huh? They should probably talk to the World Economic Forum because they're obviously a very smart and strong group, right? I mean, just take Bill Gates, for example. They should probably hit him up if they want to make bigger grids, as he's buying up land like there's no tomorrow.
Along with China's land grabs, Microsoft founder Bill Gates is the largest private owner of American farmland. Gates alone holds over 275,000 acres across 19 states. Our next guest is a Virginia farmer who lives near one of Gates's data centers. National Black Farmers Association President John Boyd Jr. joins us now. John, so great to have you on. So I'm sure you put a lot of thought into this. Why do you think Bill Gates is buying up all this land?
Well, one is greed, and it's running America's family farm is off family land. Basically, we can't buy the land once Bill Gates moves into the area. For example, his data center is right next door here, and since he's located in Boydton, Virginia, land prices have went through the roof, $15,000-$20,000 an acre. What farmer do you know that can pay that kind of money per acre? Off anything that we can grow on the farm? He doesn't do anything when he comes into these areas to support community-based organizations or invest back into these communities. That's what's hurting America right now.
Yeah.
And what he's trying to do now in the food industry is the same thing that they've done with seeds. When they put genetically modified seeds in, and now he wants to do that with beef. But America's farmers are proud farmers, and I'm asking Americans not to support fake meat, but to support farmers out here who grow beef like I do, and poultry and pork. Support America's farmers and not support Bill Gates and this mega theory and mindset that he has.
Yeah.
It's really called greed.
Do you guys agree with him? Because it's a bit weird for someone who wants us eating fake meat to invest in farmland. Like, what are you putting over there? We all know he's not planting trees because he thinks that's not going to help with climate change. I mean, hello? Who needs oxygen, right? But still, the narrative and the message from these billionaires is that they want to save the planet. So you gotta ask, what or who are they saving it from? Because all of these talks that aim to help climate change will just change our lifestyles dramatically. Just look at EVs, electric appliances, fake meat. I mean, these are things that none of us signed up for, but since it's been dubbed with climate change, then they can pretty much do whatever the heck they want, right? Which brings me to my final question for the video. Would you ever agree to the will and desires of these unelected leaders? Is this really the future that we need in order for us to combat these weather conditions that they're repeatedly warning us about? Make sure you share your thoughts down below. And before I go, I want to thank you guys for your time. Keep safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.